Hi, I'm Anna and welcome back to my channel Building a Business. So I'm really excited about today's video, but also pretty nervous. I am officially under contract on my very first rental property. Now everything is happening really fast, there's still a lot of things up in the air, but I figured I'd just make this quick video to give you a very brief description of what's happened so far. And then in future videos, I'll go back and go into more of the specifics and details of the property and all of the different steps that I took to get it. So in terms of the steps that I've taken so far, I first started talking with a couple turnkey companies because I am interested for at least my first property, if not my first couple properties, in going through a turnkey company. And by doing that, I know that I'll be taking a hit in terms of my returns. However, I also feel more confident that I won't make as many major mistakes because I'll have people that are knowledgeable guiding me along the way. And of course you have to talk with the turnkey companies and make sure that they actually are knowledgeable and actually are going to help you through the process to make sure that you're actually getting the benefit that a turnkey company promises. So once I talked with a couple companies, I decided on one company in particular that I wanted to go through with. And I talked with multiple people at the company and felt comfortable with them. And then my next step was to get pre-approval from a lender. And I originally reached out to 4 lenders, and once I got pre-approval, I went back to the turnkey company and started looking at the properties they had and went under contract on one in particular. Now this particular property is in Florissant, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis. The purchase price is $165,000, and the turnkey company estimates that my cash flow each month will be $379. Now I personally ran a much more conservative estimate to make sure that even if what they're telling me is off, that I would still find it a worthwhile investment. So I definitely did a full analysis and didn't just take the turnkey company's analysis for granted. So I sent in my earnest money and I started the process of getting a home inspection done, which I will go through that process in a later video. If you're interested in seeing what a home inspection looks like, then check back next week for my video on the home inspection report and what condition my property is currently in. However, things started to get a little crazy with the lender side of it because it turns out my lender wasn't actually licensed in Missouri. And so I had to find another lender, which in my mind wasn't a big deal because I had these 3 other lenders that I had gotten approval from. So I ended up going back to the other lenders that I had pre-approval from. And I talked with each of them again and made super clear that I hadn't been working for 2 years. Now typically to get a conventional loan you need to be working in the same job for 2 years if you're self-employed like I am. However, I've only been working for a little over 1.5 years, about 1 year and 3/4. So I'm pretty close to that 2-year mark, but I'm not there. And I was super upfront with all of them about that, and I asked multiple times to ensure that that was okay, and they all told me yes 100% because I was in school studying for that job beforehand. And so they told me that the school aspect would cover the fact that I hadn't been working for a full 2 years. However, as I started going through the process, I paid for an appraisal through one of the lenders, and then they ended up backing out and saying, no, you haven't had 2 years of work experience, and so we will not lend to you. And I tried to talk with them and ask them, why, because I had already mentioned that and they said it was fine. But from what I can tell, it's just because of everything that's going on right now, they're having to be a lot more conservative than they typically would be, which is understandable, but it just was frustrating to me that I was super upfront with them about this and asked them multiple times and they said it was okay, and then after I'd already paid them, they backed out. And yes, I got my money back, but still it was a lot of time and hassle. And so ultimately 2 of the 3 remaining lenders that I had been working with backed out, and this last one is theoretically still gonna let me close. And I do have an email chain with them saying that they're okay with the fact that I have less than 2 years of work history, but I don't think that email chain will really do anything for me if they ultimately decide that they just don't want to lend to me. So at this point, I'm just really keeping my fingers crossed that this lender will work out, because at this point I'm getting relatively close to the time I have to close, which is August 11th. And so at this point I don't know what I'm gonna do if this lender backs out, but if you have any suggestions, if something similar has ever happened to you, please leave them in the comments below so that I can try to figure out what I'm gonna do if the lender ends up backing out at the last minute. So basically that's where I'm at. The appraisal was theoretically done yesterday, but I haven't received any report yet on that. So I'm waiting for that. I have the inspection report done and everything looks pretty good. And so really my only major concern at this point is that my lender will fall through. And so I'm really keeping my fingers crossed that that won't happen. But if you have any suggestions on what I could do if that does end up happening, again, please leave them in the comments below. And with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to follow along on my journey and to get more updates as my process with this first property continues.